I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
This group has given a helping hand to the unborn for 20 years. And for those who are expecting, expect some prayers to this saint.
He is a wonderful saint for our time because he's a saint of hope.
Plus, the mission is possible in this African country.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. 20 years ago, 1989, hard to believe that was 20 years ago, you know. George H.W. Bush was president. An earthquake in California's Bay Area put the halt to the World Series between the Oakland As and the San Francisco Giants. And revolutions in Eastern Europe heralded the beginning of the end of the Soviet Union.
And I just graduated from high school.
So did my sister.
I know, I'm an old lady. And here in Brooklyn, Monsignor Philip Reilly founded the pro-life group Helpers of God's Precious Infants. Now, since then, helpers, volunteers, have been praying and counseling women outside abortion clinics all around the city. This past weekend, appropriately enough, in the middle of Respect Life Month, the group celebrated 20 years of tireless advocacy.
Been at it for a long time. Well, we sent our cameras out there to the Helpers of God's Precious Infants monthly Mass and Vigil at St. Michael's Parish in Sunset Park. Have a look.
We're here today in St. Michael Parish in Sunset Park area of Brooklyn. We came because we had a Mass this morning at 7:30. Bishop Guy Sansaric led us. And after the Mass, we went in a rosary procession and prayer to the local abortion mill, which is on 43rd Street and 3rd Avenue Ambulatory Surgery Center. We said the 20 decades of the rosary, and we sang hymns in between each of the decades of the rosary. And while we were doing that, people were offering help and to people coming there that were in need. We are celebrating the 20 years of God's blessings upon his people, of God's people going from the churches to the abortion mills to bring Jesus Christ to them, and with the intercession of the Mother of God. And the results have been miraculous. There were protesters there today, but actually last time we were here, the protesters were much more vociferous and loud and strong. They were more subdued today in a way.
We also have been here for almost 20 years, not just for events like this, which only happen once or twice a year, but the really important thing is they are here every single weekend and during most of the week, making life difficult for the patients. So we have also been out here every Saturday morning continuously for almost as long as they have.
The experience today as the 20th year anniversary of Monsignor Reilly is very simple. We were expecting more people to come, but the very few that have come, as God said, few are chosen, many are called, are very, very, as you've seen the vigil this morning, they're very pious and they're very sincere. And like a lot of saints and a lot of popes, and even Jesus have said that we have to pray with all of our heart and with all of our sincerity, and that creates the miracle.
There's a bigger battle going on. We hear the Church of St. Michael the Archangel reminds us this is about the powers and principalities. It's a battle for souls, and God is using us as his instruments to make present his love. And when we bring the power of God, the angels of God, this intercession of the Mother of God, we cannot lose. We will win.
Well, the Helpers of God's Precious Infants monthly Mass there. Stay tuned, there's much more Currents coming up straight ahead. When we come back, we'll stick with that whole Respect Life theme. We'll head to Europe and the scene of a massive protest.
We'll have that and the rest of the day's headlines when Currents returns. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, meet a Latino leader who's part Billy Graham, part Martin Luther King, and all salsa.
Ah, salsa. Me gusta la salsa. All right. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. As Respect Life Month continues here in the U.S., reports indicate that as many as 1 million pro-life advocates took to the streets in Madrid, Spain over the weekend. As we hear from CNN's Al Goodman, they were voicing their opposition to efforts there to make it easier to get an abortion.
A huge crowd in Madrid this day to make their voices heard against abortion, and especially against the socialist government's attempt to revise the abortion law and make it easier to get an abortion in Spain, where it is already allowed under certain circumstances.
We are against abortion because we are in favor of life. We are against this law because it's especially negative, especially dangerous law, which would make abortion even easier, would extend the problem. But we are also against the existing law. The existing law, which was in principle just allowing in very, very extreme cases abortion, has been abused and has made of Spain so-called the paradise of abortion in Europe.
Abortion has been decriminalized in Spain for 24 years, and there are now about 100,000 abortions annually here if it's a case of rape or a malformed fetus, or if a medical authority will certify that a woman's health is in danger psychologically or physically from having the baby. Now, the socialist government bill would make it easier. There would be abortion on demand through the first 14 weeks of pregnancy, and the legal age to decide on an abortion would drop to just 16 years old for a woman. Opponents of abortion are seeing red. But the government says the reform is part of a broader national strategy on sexual and reproductive health aimed at preventing unwanted pregnancies. But this crowd is having none of that argument. They came in hours in advance by bus, by plane, even by train from all over Spain, and they say they have the support of international organizations from 45 other countries.
We have to defend some things like life, and you can't take away life from innocent people.
There were some conservative politicians in this big crowd, but mainly ordinary Spaniards trying to send a message to the government they will fight on the issue of abortion, even though the Socialist Party says it has enough votes in Parliament to revise the abortion law.
Quite a crowd there. Well, the conservative opposition party in Spain opposes the bill, but did not send a representative to the demonstration. U.S. soldiers will help in efforts to rescue a kidnapped priest in the Philippines. The president of the Bishops' Conference there says, though, that the U.S. must do so with the permission of the government in Manila. 78-year-old Irish missionary Father Michael Sinott was kidnapped 2 weeks ago by a group of armed men.
The Catholic Diocese of Wilmington, Delaware has filed bankruptcy, and that delays a high-profile sex abuse case there. Wilmington Bishop Francis Maluli says that the filing was made after careful consideration and offers what he says is the best opportunity to provide the fairest possible treatment of those sex abuse victims there. An attorney for the victims, though, says the filing is a desperate effort to hide the truth. Wilmington is the 7th diocese in the U.S. to file for bankruptcy since high-profile clergy sex abuse allegations in Boston 7 years ago. Well, to the west of Delaware, the mood was much lighter this weekend as men and women in West Virginia took a leap of faith, jumping off a bridge 876 feet high. Much braver than me. Well, as we hear from reporter Carrie Jones, for one senior clergyman, it was all for a good cause.
They look like they're prepared for battle, a battle against fear maybe, because it takes a special breed to take the dive off the New River Gorge Bridge.
There's a chemical imbalance there, but it's nothing that's too crazy.
I think we're all a little bit, maybe we're a little off. Gotta be a little nervous jumping off a bridge, though. But you see the steel flash before you, and then you're alive.
An adrenaline rush that only they can understand. But what drives some thrill seekers is about more than danger.
Everybody needs a book. Free books for kids.
A good cause is behind Bishop Mike Glusmeyer's trip to the bridge.
Kids don't have a book in their hand. They don't have an opportunity to read. We had said that if we could raise enough money, I would jump off the bridge. I think a lot of people thought I was kidding.
Since he's not a qualified base jumper, the bishop takes a zip line down instead.
They tell you to just lean back and let go. It's kind of scary to let go.
A 300-foot vertical drop, and his 5th trip, another smooth ride.
It was wonderful. Cold and breezy up there, but wonderful trip down. It's a moment of faith again to step off that bridge and trust the people around you.
The bishop's bold leap of faith, helping fight the battle against illiteracy.
You know, I've been told to go jump off a bridge before, but I don't think I would do that.
Well, jump off a cliff. Well, I don't think you would be such a fan since you're not a big fan of heights.
I am not. I was telling Francesca a moment ago, when I was here in high school on a trip, I would not even go to the top of the Empire State Building. It used to be really that bad,
well,
but I've gotten better. I mean, you know, now,
yeah,
but
now it's better.
Not the whole jumping off the bridge thing.
When I was in high school, I was a part of a Catholic youth group, and we did this weekend away where we did rappelling, and we also did that whole trust fall thing. And it is, in fact, a leap of faith. You're just, you know, going backward. You're putting, you know, your life into someone else's hands. Yeah. But they caught me. I guess it's a good metaphor.
Well, see, it is a good metaphor. It reminds me of the piece that we had that Lino did, the rock climbing thing, where he's like rappelling off the rocks and stuff.
I'm a big fan of that.
Oh my goodness, I was in the same boat as Lino. I was like, oh no,
no, thank you.
I couldn't even watch.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more Currents straight ahead.
Coming up, a country of immigrants, and we're not talking about America.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Well, talks continue at the African Synod at the Vatican.
A Nigerian archbishop says the talks have the bishops asking themselves what they can do to alleviate the suffering of their people. But as we hear from H2O News, help has come from other parts of the world.
Of Africa's 53 countries, Sao Tome and Principe represent a sui generis reality within the African kaleidoscope. When the Portuguese arrived more than 500 years ago, the small country's 2 islands were completely unpopulated. Welcoming people from many different places, it became a mestizo culture, both African and European. This combination of cultures is also visible within the church, as for example, Bishop Manuel Antonio Mendes dos Santos is Portuguese. For him, the world is beginning to gather the fruits from the missions that once were sowed in Africa. Lately, the theology that contends that the whole church should be missionary has become widespread, that not only certain sectors are missionaries while others are mere recipients. Currently, I would also say that Africa is an expression of these 2 dimensions. It is still a land where many missionaries come. Nevertheless, from this diocese, which is 475 years old, there are also many missionaries spread throughout the world. As Bishop Manuel emphasized, to be a missionary is to not only know the art of teaching, but also the art of learning.
The perspective
that we have of Africa, in my point of view, is a land that continues to need a lot of support, help, and collaboration. However, it is a land where we can discover a living church, a young church, a church that lives her life with a lot of joy. And therefore, we also can learn to believe in the future and to live joyfully, to live the liturgy with spontaneous and great joy.
Aprender a viver toda uma liturgia com uma alegria espontânea muito grande, etc.
Angola, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, and Sao Tome and Principe form the PALOP, the Portuguese-speaking African countries, a language which is spoken by more than 37 million people on the continent.
Well, the African Synod lasts through October 25th.
While missionaries are passionate about sharing their faith in Africa, back in the U.S., one Latino evangelical minister is using his faith and his enthusiasm to advocate for immigration reform. We get more now from CNN's Telma Gutierrez.
I'm at a strip mall on the outskirts of Sacramento where one of the most influential evangelical leaders in the Latino community is spreading his message. It's one that the political leadership in Washington is noticing. He's a rock star to Latino evangelicals. He preaches in English. That
Jesus Christ is Lord!
And in Spanish.
Y lo mejor viene de camino!
The Reverend Sam Rodriguez describes his style as a little Dr. Martin Luther King.
I believe that we're about to see a great moment of emancipation.
A little Billy Graham.
We'll bow down to the authority of God. Take me higher.
With what he says is a lot of salsa.
That was quite a sermon. You have English, Spanish, and rap.
It's the reality of who we are.
They are Latino evangelicals, 16 million strong. As president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, he is their leader. He has influence.
My prayer is that this Congress remembers another 12 million people living in the shadows.
Reverend Rodriguez is determined to wield his political clout.
It should worry both the Democrats and the Republicans. The fact of the matter that we're not going to sell out our values for the sake of political expediency.
The Reverend says traditionally, Latino evangelicals tend to vote Republican and align themselves with white conservatives on issues like traditional marriage and abortion. But immigration, that's the deal breaker.
That scares the daylights out of many Americans. How dare we? Is this the Latinization of America? 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. That's the elephant in the immigration reform room.
What if they say, fine, go elsewhere, we don't need you?
You don't need 47 million Hispanic Americans. This is the largest minority group in America.
Republican leaders want Latino voters back after losing them in the last election.
I'm convinced that the biggest mistake that was made within the Republican primary was that we put the fault in the wrong place.
The Democrats want to keep them.
So we interact with him simply because we think when we hear from him, we are hearing the wishes of his constituents.
And we're going to see the promises of God made a reality in our lives. Our God is the God who saves.
What's next for the Reverend? He heads back to Washington, D.C. to talk to key lawmakers about an issue he's passionate about, immigration reform.
He is definitely passionate.
Definitely that. I didn't want to get down like that woman.
Like
there.
that grandma?
Yeah.
Abuela. She was really rocking
I can
it.
at least dance that well.
Well, it's an important debate, whichever side of the political fence you're on.
Very much so.
Stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead.
Coming up, looking for new life? We'll introduce you to a saint who can help.
For those who are seeking to conceive or those who have a difficult pregnancy, he is their intercessor for them.
Finally tonight, earlier we saw the tireless work of helpers of God's precious infants.
They practice prayer and advocacy outside abortion clinics around the city. And prayer for the unborn took on a much different form elsewhere.
In Hollis, Queens, over the weekend, Bishop DiMarzio celebrated the feast of St. Gerard Majella. He's the patron saint of the unborn, expectant mothers, and parents who are having difficulty conceiving. It was a celebration of hope for all of those who were there.
We are at the Shrine Church of St. Gerard Majella in Hollis, Queens. Well, tonight we celebrated the feast of St. Gerard Majella. This is the parish patronal feast, and during the Mass we celebrated blessing our new statues, our renovated statues, and the bishop blessed them. And the bishop also blessed women who were expecting children and women who were trying to conceive a child and their husbands. We blessed them with the relics of St. Gerard.
St. Gerard was a Redemptorist lay brother who lived in the 18th century. He had a very short life, 29 years, but he had great sanctity. He was attributed many miracles in his life, and even since then, so many miracles to his intercession, especially for those who are seeking to conceive or those who have a difficult pregnancy. He is their intercessor for them. I had Mass on the Feast of St. Gerard, October the 16th. And then 9 months later, on July the 16th, which is a feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, a woman came up to me so excited. She says, "I'm the grandmother of the baby." I said, "What baby?" I didn't quite catch it. So it was 9 months to the day that couple that had come to the Mass conceived, that the baby was born that day. So I think that was kind of a little bit of a miracle. And other times I've seen, as I say, one Easter, I was celebrating Mass, and I had kind of a flashback to the Mass of St. Gerard, which is, months afterwards. I don't know why. And all of a sudden, then a woman came to me, and she said, "I'm pregnant. We're going to have the baby. Will you baptize next month, and she was somebody else who had been at the Mass. So it kind of proves to me that he is a powerful intercessor.
St. Gerard was a lay brother in the Redemptorist order in the 18th century. He is known as the patron saint of expecting mothers and mothers with difficult pregnancies, as well as those who are unjustly accused. He is a wonderful saint for our time because he's a saint of hope. He was even dark times and in difficult times, as there was in his town in southern Italy, with poverty and with a lot of difficulties. He went around preaching the gospel. He went around helping people through many different ways of being a person of hope and an agent of the gospel as an agent of hope.
You know, there's a saint for everything, I swear. It's great because we did that thing I did that interview on burying the statue of St. Joseph in your house, because if you want to sell your house or have your house blessed. And this is so nice because so many people, especially women my age, are a little bit older, especially they sometimes do have a little bit of a challenge conceiving, and then you get into all these other technical things that the church, of course, does not endorse. And so it's nice to know that there is something that you can do, and look at the good results that the bishop talked about.
Exactly. I loved the stories that he had to tell, obviously the true stories that he had to tell. Especially the one that the couple actually had conceived at night, and then 9 months to the day later were there and said, "Hey, you know, I'm the grandmother of the baby." You know, that was a lot of fun. But it's you know, it's definitely, I think, you know, prayer can be such a powerful tool.
Sure.
And you know, I don't think that we need to be afraid to do that.
No, not at all. And to know that there's a specific way when you want to have a family or grow your family to be able to pray for that cause especially is nice. St. Gerard, there you go. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, as Respect Life Month continues, we'll take you to a special celebration for another group that is many times forgotten. That is the physically and sometimes the mentally disabled.
Right. Well, until then, you can always catch us online. Just head over to currentsny.net. Reel us in. There you can see clips of the show. You can check out our blog. It's called Riding the Wave. Meet all the people who make the show happen.
Such a goofball. All right, you can
Sticking with the whole water theme.
I know. Row, row. You can also let us know what you think by sending us an email. The address is drop us a line at currentsny.net. And for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime.
Okay, they're going to change our email address to row, row, row your boat or something. I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.
Happy Monday.